call to order the City Council regular meeting for the City of Wyoming, Minnesota, June 6, 2023. We will be doing roll call tonight, so we'll start with roll call of members that are present. Member Luger, Member Yeager, and Councilmember Onstad.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, and I will be reading a statement for Councilmember Onstad. He will be participating in the meeting remotely from a hotel meeting room at Breezy Point Resort, 9252 Breezy Point Drive, Breezy Point, Minnesota, 56472. That is open to the public. The City of Wyoming has posted the notice about Council Onstad's remote participation per state statute 13D.02. Councilmember Onstad has posted at his location that he is participating in the regularly scheduled meeting of the Wyoming City Council at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and he is actively participating in the Central Standard Time at approximately 7:01 p.m. All votes at tonight's council meeting will be via roll call with Councilmember Onstad's virtual participation. From there, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll start with open forum. Open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on items that are or are not on the current agenda. Items requiring council action may be deferred to staff or boards and commissions for research and future council agendas if appropriate. You will be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask that you conduct yourself in a professional, courteous manner and refrain from the use of profanity. Failure to abide by this policy may result in the loss of your privilege to speak. Do we have anybody here tonight that wishes to speak? Come on up, state your name. Yep.
John Burgum, 234, what's my address? 26345 Penwick Avenue. We got a problem with the garbage, the new one now, you know. They're supposed to come to our business twice a week. Well, they didn't even come at all. Then they stopped the first time, and he said, well, you're not even on my list. I'm just picking up because I see your garbage out, you know. But now, so we're trying to get Ace.
Yeah.
Ace will not, because they got to back up from 264th, they got to back all the way down to 263rd, back up to Headley's, and then come back out.
Okay.
Ace won't do it. They said it's just an accident looking for a place to happen. So originally when they put the dead end street there, I thought they were talking about putting a big roundabout out on the end in that community place, you know?
Yep.
So that at least a truck could turn around, because a school bus can't go down there, a fire truck can't go down there. So if there's ever a fire up at Headley's, I don't know, they'll make it one truck up there, and then I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Everybody's gotta back up all the way from Dale's.
Yep.
And that's pretty dangerous. You got little kids in the fourplexes there.
Yep.
Somebody's gonna get run over, somebody's gonna get hit one of these days.
Okay.
So just consider putting that, so at least a truck can go down
Yeah.
and back up in the driveway and turn around, you know.
Sure. All right. Thank you. Mr. Linwood, is there anything we can do to help?
You know, as part, and Mr. Erickson, not to put you on the spot, I believe some of that was when we did that project in MnDOT, there was some closure as part of that street when that was redone. And I don't remember exactly if there was ever any discussion, I don't know if you recall, Mr. Erickson, if there wasn't supposed to be any kind of truck turnaround or area there for that, but I can certainly research it. Off the top of my head, I'm not certain.
Right, I know that we didn't have right of way for like a full roundabout, or not a roundabout, a cul-de-sac. We can certainly look at and see if there's any simple solutions, whether it's a hammerhead, you know, type turnaround where people can pull in and back up and out kind of deal, and what kind of room we have within that right of way to work within. We can certainly look into that.
Sure.
And we can't, if I remember correctly, so the neighboring business has all that, they didn't bring their parking lot all the way up, right? So there's no way to kind of add a little bit of a road to get through to their parking lot and around? Do you know which business I'm talking about?
I do, yeah, it would involve, it would have to be a taking. You know,
Oh, okay.
It would be not on our property, it would be
Yeah,
public right,
be
it would
theirs.
be their private property. And they likely don't want to have actually have that road closed and have it, I don't think we heard any complaints about that.
Yeah.
But now we are hearing some difficulties with garbage service. And what happened before? Was it just, did they?
Well, it's a through street, so they come off the highway and just come down Fenway.
I'm sorry, before the garbage changed, no, they just recently.
Or they'd go through our parking lot.
Well, they used to go through our parking lot, finally told them can't go through our parking lot because they're right in it.
Okay.
So then he's the one that told them that we're not going down there no more.
Okay.
But, SRC, they would back all the way down to the corner here, all the way down, all the way up that hill, come back out, right along. But, in the wintertime, you got that much snow, they're driving back to,
Right.
back up there. So I don't know how they did it, but, Ace won't do it, they said, that you're looking for an accident.
Staff can look at it to see if there's some simple solutions that would make it work with them, better just.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be kind of.
Well,
easy.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and I have to say, I didn't think about fire trucks, but can we get our big fire trucks down there? And able to turn around?
I think we've,
They'd have to back down as well.
They'd have
Or
to
go
back-
through the parking lot of the adjacent business.
Okay.
Get the head, you have to walk and drive up, back all the way out, back out, you know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we'll check into that and get back to them.
I've
Fabulous.
chased down a couple garbage trucks and warned them they're not going through the parking lot. The last time we repaired the parking lot was $14,000. And I don't really wanna put out another $14,000 with garbage trucks going through the parking lot.
They're heavy.
They're big.
They're big, mm-hmm.
And they operate, regardless of road restrictions or not, that's part of the, you see a lot of communities look to single haulers, and I'm not suggesting that, because that's a very controversial.
That's a very
topic, but-
controversial,
Yes,
yes.
it is, but I mean, I think that's what some of the argument for that is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay, thank you for bringing that forward. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 1, approval of minutes. Consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for May 16th, 2023. If there are no comments or questions, do we have a motion to approve?
So
Motion to approve by Member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad, and roll call, please. Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Onstad?
Aye.
Member Luker?
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. It does pass. Number 2, consider approving the minutes of the work session meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for May 5th, 2023. If there are no comments or questions, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad. Roll call, please. Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Luker?
Aye.
Member Onstad?
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is an aye. It does pass. Number 3, consider approving the minutes of the budget work session meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for May 16th, 2023. If there are no comments or questions, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Luker. Do we have a second? I'll make the second.
Second.
I'll make the second. So Iverson will make the second. Roll call, please. Member Onstad?
Aye.
Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Luker?
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is an aye. It does pass. Number 4, to consider Resolution 230648, a resolution ordering the project and authorizing the preparation of plans and specifications for the 2023 Fallbrook Avenue and 264th Street improvement. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I have just a brief PowerPoint here. We'll go through that. You can ask any questions that you may have of me, and then open the public hearing would be great. So this is the public hearing for the 2023 Fallbrook Avenue and 264th Street Improvement Project. Next slide, please. Again, just the project location that I described here from really Fairview Avenue north up to 264th Street and out 264th Street to 61. Next slide. We had started this feasibility study back in August of 2022, actually. Actually, I think it was 2022. I don't believe it. Right,
Yeah, it's not
I got a typo there.
2023.
My
Yep.
apologies. We received the feasibility study May 2nd. Public informational meeting. We've met with a number of businesses out on site just to discuss and go over the details of the project. Oftentimes with residential neighborhoods, we have public informational meetings here at City Hall. This was just a number of small meetings with business owners, and so it was a small number of meetings, and so we handled it in that manner rather than have an official meeting here at City Hall. So this evening, we're at the stage where we're having the public hearing, and depending on how that goes, requesting order of plans and specifications. Next slide. Again, back in August, we were authorized to prepare that feasibility study. It took quite a while to meet with property owners. Scheduling and things of that nature, it took some time, but we are at a point where, you know, we know these roadways are in very poor condition. They are among our worst that we complete with our road ratings, and we are in need of repairs. Again, they were constructed in the 1980s and 90s, and the roadway condition is very poor, and there's some drainage improvements that we'd like to make as part of the project as well. Next slide. You can see the condition of the roadway here. Again, pictures really don't do it justice, even though you can see it is in quite poor condition. So that is the reason we're having this meeting this evening. Is this is again on our capital improvements plan and one of our highest priority projects. Next slide. The proposed improvements does consist of bituminous pavement replacement, of course, but we are really looking to keep all the material in place. So reclaiming the material, grinding up the asphalt with the underlying aggregate base, and then adding 5 inches of bituminous pavement over that. So really, that roadway will rise up about 5 to 5.5 inches, somewhere in that nature, and we can accommodate that with driveways and those things, but we really want to strengthen that roadway. We have a lot of traffic, we have a lot of construction type materials in and out. We have huge fire trucks that are rated for airports, and not necessarily we're building a runway here, but we want to make sure we have a strong roadway that will last a long period of time. We're, for the most part, matching road widths. There is a little bit of variability there, and so we're going to have a consistent road width out there. And we are looking to have concrete curb and gutter on that southern segment from 260th south to Fairview Boulevard. That portion has concrete curb and gutter existing there today. So we're going to remove that. It's in terrible condition, but we are going to replace that because there aren't ditches, and so we're going to replace that curb and gutter on that section. The piece to the north is a rural section. We plan to keep that a rural section and make sure we move forward with improvements that can accommodate the existing rural section and improve some of that rural section. There is some drainage issues there that we need to correct. I mentioned some of the drainage improvements. Again, we're going to maximize the use of them, but we do need to improve them. They're holding water. We have culverts that have very minimal cover, so we're going to make some minimal improvements to the drainage out there as well. We have televised the sanitary sewer, and there are 4 locations that have sags in that sanitary sewer. So we unfortunately are going to need to repair those as well before we build a new roadway over something that's deficient. And so not real significant. The lengths aren't real long, but we do need to address that, which will impact traffic as well. But we will accommodate the repairs there as part of the project. Next slide. Water main improvements, really, we've talked with public works staff, there's really limited improvements out there. We're just gonna need to adjust the gate valve boxes that are within the roadway to the new elevation. So really pretty limited compared to what we've seen in other projects. There's the 2 sections that I highlighted. You can see the top one is that rural section that does have a ditch section. Again, we'll do some minor improvements to that. And then the urban section, the southern portion of the project, again, will show with that concrete curb and gutter and new pavement section. Our project funding, consistent with our assessment policy, we are assessing 20% for the surface and drainage improvements only. There won't be assessments for the water main or the sanitary sewer repairs. This is a little different than what we've typically seen with our residential neighborhoods. This is based on front footage rather than per unit, because some of these units are really large and some are a little bit smaller than others, and so we feel this is the most equitable way to levy these assessments. It also is a little bit different. We do have a couple of properties that don't have a driveway on this frontage or on the roadway, but they have frontage along it, and so we are still applying that assessment policy based on frontage. if they have a driveway on a different roadway, they're still being assessed. So it's a little different than what we've typically seen with our residential neighborhood assessments. And then the city pays the remaining project costs. This is a state aid project, and so a lot of that comes from a state aid advance that we've requested. And so council has approved that previously and will receive state funds for that.
If their driveway is on another street and you're assessing them anyway, are you going, if the other street ever gets fixed, are you going to assess them again?
We would, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's certainly something that council can discuss a little bit further, but it's very difficult. We can go back to the map and look. When you have limited properties, there's really, I think, 3 property owners on this project. Some of them have multiple parcels, but it gets very difficult to assess and spread those assessments out. When you take a big chunk of property or chunk of roadway length out, it adds a significant amount of cost to those. And so it's a little bit different with commercial, how we're applying this than what we have in considering the residential, how we've handled that. So a little bit different.
Okay.
Next slide. There again, you can see the number of parcels. Again, it's very few parcels, but it is based on the front footage method. Again, we take 20% of the surface and drainage costs and divide by that front footage, and we result in a $31.14 assessment per front foot. And so we calculate what their front footage is and apply that rate to come up with the assessment amount. Next slide. We're all familiar with the assessment process. I'm not sure if anybody here, any business owners are here, but I'll go through this briefly. It does follow Minnesota statutes, chapter 429, that really provides guidelines on how we move forward with an assessment process. There would be opportunities for property owners at the assessment hearing at the conclusion of the project that we hold typically at the first meeting in November, where they would have the ability to object and provide in writing an objection to the assessment and go through a process related to that. That notice of appeal must be filed with the county within 30 days after the adoption of the assessment. An interest rate is set at the time of assessment certification, and I think Mr. Linwood will probably wait and see what current rates are at that time frame and move forward. Is that
Agreed,
how you-
correct.
Okay. Next slide. You know, typically we've had assessments range in that 10 to 15-year period depending on the amount, and so that's something that is open for discussion, and we'll be prepared to discuss that further at the assessment hearing. It's not something that we need to discuss today, but the assessments being, you know, that they are relatively large for some property owners, I think we want to get some feedback from property owners too, and to see what they might wish. I mean, they still may pay that off initially and not choose to have that assessed over a period of time. But that is what we've had for options there, is typically a 10 or 15-year assessment period. Next slide is really the public improvement process. That's kind of a summary here of the 429 process. You can see on the right, the third box down is where we're at within that public process. This evening, if you're inclined to move forward with ordering the improvement, we'd also ask that you ask us to prepare plans and specifications. We'd like to turn those around really pretty quickly and bring them back to the June 20th meeting. And at that time, request authorization to advertise for bids and get this out there. We know that we have a lot of contractors that are looking for fall work. The weather we've had, there's not been a lot of rain days, and so they're chewing through a lot of work too. And so we're feeling pretty confident that we'll get good results of bids here as well.
Okay, great.
Next slide. Any questions? I'd stand for any questions you might have.
So I'll ask each individual council member. Member Onstad, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Member Yeager, any questions?
I asked it.
Okay. Member Luker, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, and I have none either. So we need a motion to approve resolution, oh, we need to go public hearing.
Correct.
Sorry about that. So we need a motion to go into public hearing, please.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, roll call, all in favor, Member Luker,
Aye.
Member Yeager,
Aye.
Member Onstad,
Aye.
and Mayor Iverson are an aye. We are in public hearing. Anybody here to ask any questions about the road project? I really would like to say Bueller, but, all right. So, seeing none, we will need to, close out of the public hearing and go back into our regular meeting. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So
So
moved.
moved.
We have the first by Member Luker. Do we have the second by Member Onstad? Correct. Okay, Member Onstad says second. All right, roll
Yes.
call. Thank you. Roll call, please. Member Luker?
Aye.
Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Onstad?
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is an aye. It is approved. Consent agenda.
Mayor, we need to approve
Oh, we need to prove
the
it.
resolution, please.
I was trying to be perfect today.
That's all right, no
I was
problem.
working on it. All right, we need a motion to approve Resolution 230648, a resolution ordering the project and authorizing the preparation of plans and specifications for the 2023 Fallbrook Avenue 264th Street improvement. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Onstad. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luker. Roll call, please. Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Luker.
Aye.
Member Onstad.
Aye.
And
Aye.
Mayor Iverson. It does pass. Thank you. Consent agenda number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Does anybody wish to pull an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. I'll make the motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luker. Roll call, please. Member Onstad.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Luker.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. It does pass. Acknowledgement receipts of reports of officers, boards, commissions, and department heads. Number 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Does any member wish to pull an item from the reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Number 17. Finally, right? Consider approving the Eagle Scout project construction of Little Free Libraries. Mr. Sachs, are you starting?
Yep,
this?
I'll give a brief introduction and then I'll introduce our Boy Scout here tonight. So I'd say about a year ago, the PAC was exploring building some Little Free Libraries in city parks. And after some discussion, they decided it would make for a great Eagle Scout project. So following our Scout policy, staff created this project and we were just kind of waiting for a Scout that was interested. And then probably late fall, Mr. Punt reached out to the city and staff met with him several times, discussed kind of what the PAC was thinking for these Little Free Libraries. He worked on the application, which is in front of you tonight up at the dais. And then he attended the Park Advisory Commission meeting last night where he gave a brief presentation on his project. And the PAC ultimately decided to recommend approval of the project and send it on to you for final approval. So with approval from the City Council tonight, he will move forward in starting the project and hopefully finish sometime later this summer. And so I will turn it over to Mr. Robert Punt to give a little bit of a presentation on what he hopes to do.
Hello, I'm Robert Punt. I'm here to look for acceptance of my Eagle Scout project to build the Little Free Libraries.
I think it's coming up.
All right. I'm mainly looking at building them in the two parks, which will be Goodview Park and Lions Park. And some pictures here. They're probably gonna I like the roof of the top one because it's tin and it's probably the cheapest option, I guess. Let's see. And then if you could, yeah, there we go. And then for that one, I like the idea of having two shelves to fit more books, and then just one central door. And then let's see. And then yeah, and then there will probably be the dimensions. I might make it a little bit taller and a little bit wider. And for the roof, I probably will have like a double peak roof. Let's see. Could you scroll down a little bit? have one of those, I guess like sign tags on it, and one of them does say that it is donated by like an Eagle Scout, so it won't be confused with like a public library. So yeah, do you guys have any questions about it?
Okay, so I'll start with my first question. How is your funding?
Majority of the, like for the books, I will be able to probably get all the books for free, just due to my family.
Okay,
For the, like the materials, I work at Menards, so I can get a discount there. And my father is also an electrician, so he can also help get some of the supplies.
nice, great. That's all the questions I have. Member Luker, any questions?
I have no questions. I remember when the Park Advisory Commission first started discussing this, so thanks for choosing this as your project. I think it'll be a great addition to the city.
Member Yeager?
And you already answered that your family will help supply the books?
Yep.
Cool.
Okay. Member Onstad?
No questions. This is a neat project. I'm looking forward to the completion of this.
All right. I know it's, we love it when we have projects from Eagle Scouts, and we look forward to that next step, or that last step, I should say, for Eagle Scouts. We're pretty excited about that. So thank you for working with us. So what we'll need to do, let me just get my notes out here. All right, we will need to approve the Eagle Scout project construction of the Little Free Libraries. I will make the first motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by.
Second.
Second by Member Luger. So, all right, and roll call, please. Member Onstad.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Luger.
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is an aye. It looks like we're gonna get 2 new free libraries.
All right. And I have
All
an
right.
additional piece of information. I will be able to fill it for like 1 year,
Okay.
full like of books and stuff.
And then after that, you're just, maybe we could do donations, or it comes back to park then? Does it come back to the,
So how Little Free Libraries typically work, it's, take one, leave one. I guess if somebody were to notice there was like no books in there, then, the city could maybe reach out to somebody to start, donating again. And I think we'll obviously work with Mr. Punt for locations in the park and doing locates, so lines aren't hit. And then, we'll probably talk about ongoing maintenance if there is any needed as well, between our public works and him. So,
great, well, we're very excited for you, so thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Number 18, to consider resolution 230650, a resolution approving a conditional use permit for site in days structure C-23-002, location 4648 240th Street, application owner Forest Lake Sportsman Club, Ron Westberg, property ID number 21.10632.00. Mr. Weck? Okay,
Yes,
good.
Madam Mayor and council members. Forest Lake Sportsman's Club is looking at replacing their existing site-in structure. It's an old log cabin type structure, been there, I don't know how long. They're gonna replace it with a 200 square foot structure in the same location. Because they're in the shoreland district that required the conditional use permit. Planning Commission held a public hearing. They're recommending approval of the conditional use permit with the 3 conditions. Just briefly, shortly, get all applicable permits, place the structure in the same place as the old structure, and then install erosion control prior to the installation of the building. So again, the Planning Commission is recommending approval.
Okay, sounds great. The applicant is here. Mr. Westberg, if we have any questions, would you be able to answer them for us?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, questions. Member Onstad.
No questions.
Member Yeager, any questions?
No questions.
Member Luger, any questions?
I have no questions.
And I sat through the presentation and I have none either. So we do need a motion to approve resolution 230650, a resolution approving a conditional use permit for site in day structures C-23002. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Onstad. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luker. Roll call, please. Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Onstad.
Aye.
Member Luker.
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is an aye. It is approved. Thank you. Number 19, to consider resolution 230651, a resolution awarding Blackstone Contractors LLC the site package contract for construction of the Veterans Memorial at Railroad Park in the amount of $63,109.75. Mr. Sachs, are you starting?
I am, thank you, Madam Mayor. And the following resolution is also part of this. I'm just gonna cover both in this memo, answer any questions, and then we can vote on the resolutions. So if you recall, back in February, the city entered a professional services agreement with WSB for the final design of the Veterans Memorial at Railroad Park, as well as they were going to manage the construction quote process as we sought out quotes for the construction. And what WSB did was they created two different packages, one for the site construction and one for the electrical, just due to the types of contractors that are in those fields. So we got 3 quotes for the site package construction and 1 quote back from the for the electrical package. And so you will see the 3 quotes for the site package listed in the memo. So we received the 3 from Blackstone Contractors, JL Thies, and Urban Companies, with Blackstone Contractors being the low bid. You'll notice it is significantly lower than the other 2. So staff did talk to WSB about kind of why that's a very big discrepancy. And overall, you know, they've worked with Blackstone in the past, and they've done a really good job with a lot of other park projects. And that is actually closer to the estimate that WSB had compared to the other 2, which were significantly higher than they were estimating. And so we're confident that Blackstone will do a good job. And looking through their bid package, everything kind of lined up with the estimates that we had. So we would be confident recommending them for the contract. And then Vinco, it's significant electrical work to run out there, and so that's a fairly fair price too. So staff presented this at the PAC meeting last night, and they recommended approval for city council. So with that, I will take any questions.
Great, thank you. I'll start with the first question. Mr. Sachs, Mr. Linwood, typically we find, and it was asked, so at the PAC meeting last night, we typically find we'll have companies bid on something, but they'll bid higher because they really aren't interested in doing that, correct?
Yes, that's
So
correct.
it's not really any difference in terms of a better project, or, you know, a company coming in and doing it versus the other ones, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And there was a question asked in terms of if something was not in the bid for the 63,109.75, who pays for that? And I know, I'm thinking it's the same as streets. If you missed it, you missed it. Am I correct? And they have to go ahead and approve that?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So that is all my questions. Member Onstad, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, Member Yeager?
I have a couple. Will these expenses be coming totally out of donations?
Yes, because pretty much the entire railroad project is donation-based, so it'll
Yeah.
all be coming out of that fund.
Okay. Now, I do have some concerns about how the rest of the park's gonna look after the memorial is built. Like, for example, if somebody parked at the county trailhead and tried to walk over, will they have to walk over a scrubby, uneven ground to get to the memorial?
Mr.
I
Lemon,
think that the council approved the actual master plan for this a couple of years ago in regards to the complete master plan on that. And I think you can see on that master plan that it's the walkway existing right now on the trail in regards to how that goes into that master plan, and then how that history walk comes through. I think all the portions of the park for the most part are accessible, so I don't really think that will be an
Okay.
issue based on that. Maybe not immediately, since we are doing this in stages, but
That's what I was more concerned about. You get the park, the memorial done, but you haven't gotten to the other stages yet, and people are gonna be coming over, you know, all this uneven scrubby part, which could.
I think it's like a
don't know.
normal park. I don't know if it's uneven or scrubby. It's fairly level,
I've
it's
walked
flat.
on it.
It was graded when they originally did some of the work in there with the horseshoe from the trail. Certainly we can take a look at it. We have received $100,000 from the state of Minnesota through the Legacy Grant, so we're hopeful that we can start that second phase of that project yet this year. It'll be may be potentially challenging based on just the timing of it, but we'll certainly take that into consideration, and I don't think there's any, I guess, and then maybe I haven't walked it recently, and maybe you did, maybe there's holes or something like that, but I think for the most part, it's fairly even, but we'll certainly take a look at it to try to make sure that there isn't any potential trip hazards or anything
Well,
like that.
I would be concerned if a little old veteran wanted to get there, and it's difficult. I mean, if it's difficult to get a scooter or a wheelchair there until Phase 2 is built, and you said your timeline for Phase 2 is possibly sometime this year,
Potentially.
and that would include getting the walkways in, or would that be the history
Just the
walk?
history walk portion. Mhm.
Okay. Okay, that's my concern. That's all I had.
All right, and Member Luker.
No questions.
All right. So what I'm gonna do, we already talked about the electricity, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do the 230651 and then the 230652.
And then, can we pause for a second? My
Yeah.
internet went out. I gotta get member Onstead back up there.
Uh-oh.
We do still have a quorum, we could hold the.
Go
vote.
ahead
It would
with
just
it.
be yeah, he would just
Okay.
not vote on this one.
Okay.
It's up to you as the chair.
Do you guys wanna just continue?
It's fine.
Are you having a lot of problems, Alex?
Yeah, it's telling me it's the wrong code. I'm unable to get him up here.
We'll give it one more minute. Still the same, Alex?
Yeah, it's still thinking,
Okay.
so we can carry on.
All right, so we're gonna go on. We do have a quorum. I'll still do roll call. We need to get a motion to consider resolution 230651, a resolution awarding Blackstone contractors for the Veterans Memorial at Railroad Park. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Yeager. Roll call, please. Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Luker?
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. It does pass. I'm super excited. Number 20, to consider resolution 230652, a resolution awarding Vinco the electrical contract for the Veterans Memorial at Railroad Park in the amount of $25,690. I'll make the first motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second motion made by Member Luker. Roll call, please. Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Luker?
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is an aye. That is approved. I think we're 10 years in the making for this, roughly, 8 to 10. So, very excited. Before we're done tonight, I would like to give credit, Mr. Sachs, to all of our donations.
I
So,
can read them whenever you
You
would
want
like.
to do it now?
Yeah, I can do it now while I'm waiting for,
Buffering?
yes.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, so to date, the donors that we have received donations from are First State Bank of Wyoming, Polaris, Midco, Union House, Semstone, SRC, XL Energy, Oak Point Business Center, Grand Casino Mille Lacs, Casey's, Dick's Tattoo, Woodseth, and then we've had some donations from residents, Janine Sachs, Dennis and Nancy Hebrink, and Kim Johnson, as well as a few anonymous, along with all of our brick donations, which we have now had 107 people purchase bricks. So we're getting up there. And then once we break ground on the project, we are anticipating another local business that will be donating as well.
That's amazing, right? All done by donations. So thank you for working so hard on that, and for all of our businesses that help sponsor it, and also our residents. So thank you for reading that off. I appreciate that. All right, number 21 on our agenda is to consider resolution 230653, a resolution of support for the Minnesota Management and Budget Capital Project application for the City of Wyoming Public Safety Building. Mr. Linwood? Oh, Mr.
Start that
Sachs,
off, yes.
okay.
Oh, I'm still trying to get Brett up.
Oh,
if
okay,
you
fair
wanna
enough.
Take care of it.
I will certainly will. Just give me 1 second. Let me pull.
Can we have him call
Okay.
in?
It has to be on video.
It
per
has to be on
statute.
video?
Yep.
Okay.
So, Mayor, members of council, as you know, we've continued our work on our public safety building and looking for funding options. We have a couple bills that are co-authored and by both our Senator Coran and Representative New. The other opportunity is to go through Minnesota Management and Budget Capital Project request. So we are in process of filling that out. Those are due by June 16th for that, and then what would happen through the MMB process is then we would put in for that, and then there would be an actual capital committee that would come out and tour the potential project. So that is part of that application, though. It is necessary that we have a resolution of support for that. You have been presented a resolution showing showing support for this project. The ask we have right now to Minnesota Management Budget is half of the cost of the public safety building, which right now in that resolution we have is $8 million. We are projecting that with inflationary costs and the B3 for the necessary components to that would be added if we were to receive state funding, as they require us to make sure that we have those different components. So with that would be a portion of our application and submission to this. So this would be part of the tour this year and then be part of the budget process at the state legislature for 2024.
Okay, and then do we still need our sponsors? Our
This is-
legislators?
This is separate. It's a separate process through it. That we still would have the MMB process is separate, so it's an opportunity through additional funding. So we still do have the bills by Senator Coran and Representative New, but we will be working with both of them to update that bill, the dollar amount, and then and probably right now it's fairly short and concise. We'll probably expand on that bill a little bit more for a little greater detail.
Okay. I remember when we were working on Highway 8 and these same, there was a tour of the road and just really getting a feel for it. So I'm happy that they get to come out and see how desperately we need a new public safety building.
So this is like a parallel process,
Correct.
but only one prevails,
Most-
if any prevail.
If any
only-
prevail, yes,
only one
correct. And
prevail.
very doubtful that you would receive both your bill and the MMB process, correct?
Well, it would be nice.
It'd be nice, it would be, but, correct.
Okay.
Is that your only question?
Yeah.
Okay. Member Luger?
No questions.
All right, Member Onstad is not back up, so we need a motion to approve Resolution 230653, a resolution of support for the Minnesota Management and Budget Capital Project application for the City of Wyoming Public Safety Building. I'll make the first motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luger. Roll call, please. Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Luger?
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is an aye. It does pass. Number 22, to consider the resignation of the Assistant City Administrator, Alex Sachs, and to authorize advertisement for Assistant City Administrator position. Let me just say, Alex, it's going all crazy just because this is up next and we don't want you to go. So, Mr. Linwood.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Members of council. Mr. Sachs did submit a letter of resignation for his position, and his last day with the city will be June 26th. We are asking that you accept his resignation and authorize advertising to fill the position. The primary objectives of the Assistant City Administrator position is to support the city administrator performs difficult professional work and day-to-day operations, including human resources, elections coordinator, and other key objectives, including research and analysis for city operations, lead strategic initiative execution, facilitate organizational leadership, provide interdepartmental project management, support community engagement, and intergovernmental representation for the city and with economic development initiatives. Also oversees and coordinates or renews all of our application procedures for city licensing. And then that is performed under the general supervision of the city administrator. With that, I'd just like to add that yes, I'm also extremely saddened, but also excited for Alex in his new chapter. I think you saw in his resignation, he has an opportunity for a really great position at the University of Wisconsin River Falls, and he also gets to be very close to his family. And I know that his work here has been incredibly important, but he is also, his family and his wife and his little daughter are really important to him too. So I think that speaks volumes of the character of Mr. Sachs and what's really important. So we'll definitely miss him, but excited for him and the new opportunity he has.
I agree. I have to say, Alex, from the time you started, is it a year and a half?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. This will sound corny, but how much you have grown in the position. And I was very impressed with the first time you kind of ran some of these resolutions, and you were very, very good. You are very good at that. And the university is getting a very good employee. They're going to be very lucky to have you. So really wish you the best on that. I know we have a month. We have a month left.
About 3 weeks now.
3 weeks. All right, 3 weeks. Now who's counting? Exactly. So, all right, any further questions? Member Yeager?
No.
No questions? Member Luker?
No questions. We'll miss you.
All right. Sadly, I will move to approve the resignation of Assistant City Administrator Alex Sachs and to authorize advertisement for the Assistant City Administrator position. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luker. Roll call, please. Did I hear?
So I have him on Zoom, but it's not syncing up to the screen. I
Okay,
can't get it to go.
so what do we need?
You can put a mic up and you can have a roll.
Yeah, but you can see the council members. Just
Yeah.
share your screen so that they
Okay.
can see you.
Okay, fabulous. Okay, so,
Yeah, I can see you.
Member Onstad, do you have
Thank
any
you.
questions?
I cut out for just a sec. What did you say?
Do you have any questions before we move to approve?
No questions. Alex is going to be it's going to be massive.
Okay. All right, so again, I will make the first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luker. Roll call, please. Member Onstad?
Aye.
Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Luker?
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is a no, but it passes. So, all right. Number 23, to consider, actually, that's probably not right, seeing that I moved it, but you know how I feel. All right. Number 23, to consider the Wyoming City Council entering a closed session under Minnesota Statute 13D.03 to discuss labor negotiation strategies for a contract with the bargaining unit of law enforcement labor services and local 49ers. So what I would like to do is call a recess for this.
Would you like to do council reports, Mayor?
Yep, we're gonna do that.
Okay.
Yep, so, council reports first, and then we'll do recess. So, Member Yeager, would you like to
No
start?
report.
All right, Member Luker,
I attended the sewer commission meeting, and that's all I have. Thank you for attending.
right, and, Member Onstad?
I attended the Park Advisory Committee meeting last night. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight.
All right, thank you. And I did not make it out to the bike rodeo. How was it? Was it good?
Yeah, it was good. It was
Lot of
great
kids?
weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good turnout.
Okay, and then Touch a Truck as well. I did not make it out. That's 2 events I missed that I go every year. So Touch a Truck looked like it was very well attended.
It was great. Huge, again, was warm, but
Yeah.
having scoops out there with ice cream helped. So, yeah.
That's awesome. All right, that's wonderful. I did attend the sewer meeting. I did attend the PAC meeting, but I was not there as mayor. I was there as a resident. And with that, that's all the reports that we have. So at this time, I would like to recess for 5 minutes.